This week we're back and better than ever with the first episode of the 4th season of the Star Wars show.
And we're kicking it off like you would any Star Wars show, with a little bit of Lord of the Rings.
Season 4, baby. Nothing but curveballs.
This is the Star Wars show. From the Lucasfilm headquarters in San Francisco, here's your hosts, Andi and Anthony.
Hello and welcome to the Star Wars show, a Star Wars show that is returning on the date in which it was always meant to return.
Huh. Because I heard on the internet that we were supposed to be back last week.
Andy, you can't believe anything you read on the internet.
Unless it comes from a trusted source.
Yeah, like StarWars.com or the Star Wars show directly.
And not the host's personal Instagram or Twitter?
I begrudgingly agree that that is true.
Let's go to the news.
Since it's been a while since we've last spoken, we thought it would be fun to do a quick roundup of all the Star Wars news you probably missed while we were gone.
You know, because we're your only source for Star Wars news.
That's right, you'd never check anywhere else for Star Wars news, right? Like, our relationship is built on a foundation of honesty. In publishing news, lots of new books were recently announced that will transport readers to the planet of Batuu, the location of the new Star Wars Galaxy's Edge coming to Disneyland and Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Marvel will launch a new miniseries beginning on April 24th called Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, expanding upon the stories that can be found on the notorious Black Spire outpost, including introducing us to new characters like Dok-Ondar, an Ithorian collector of rare antiques.
The miniseries will be written by Ethan Sachs, with Will Sliney providing the art.
Delilah Dawson is penning a novel entitled Black Spire, in which General Leia dispatches her top spy to Batuu in a desperate search for Resistance allies.
Plus, the young adult novel A Crash of Fate by Zoraida Cordova, and Star Wars Myths and Fables by George Mann.
Also new from publishing, Darth Vader and Son author and illustrator Jeffrey Brown will be releasing a new book entitled Rey and Pals about, well, Rey and her pals.
Spoilers.
And while it may not be about Galaxy's Edge, it's guaranteed to be adorable and super fun to read.
For more on the upcoming slate of Galaxy's Edge books, including an excerpt from Star Wars Myths and Fables, check out starwars.com/SWS.
While we were gone, Star Wars Celebration not only revealed the key art for the event, but a plethora of guests slated to attend.
And boy, is it a cavalcade of Star Wars stars.
Stars like the mighty Chewbacca himself, Joonas Suotamo, making his Celebration debut. Friend of the show and voice of Darth Maul, Sam Witwer.
Also appearing will be Snap WEXLEY, aka Greg Grunberg, along with half of Foden Bede, Greg Proops.
Don't forget about puppeteer Dave Chapman or the Admiral Radisson Ello Asti actor Paul Casey.
Why, who's that? It's General Dodonna actor Ian McElhenney. He'll be there, and so will Orly Shoshan, who played Shaak Ti in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
And if you liked The Force Awakens, you'll be excited to meet Ken Lung.
Hey, it's Katie Cartwheel from Solo, A Star Wars Story. She'll be there, and so will Jet Lucas from Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
John Ratzenberger from The Empire Strikes Back and nothing else will be there. Plus baby Boba Fett Daniel Logan and his on-screen dad TEMUERA Morrison. Fashion
maven and voice of Ahsoka Tano, Ashley Eckstein will be there, and so will Star Wars Resistance's Donald Faison.
Star Wars legend Peter Mayhew will also be making a return trip to Celebration, as well as more of your favorite Star Wars celebrities.
Celebrities like
Vanessa Marshall,
D. Bradley Baker,
Catherine Tabor,
Michael Pennington,
Tom Kane,
and Myrna Velasco.
Yes, you can meet all of these Star Wars celebrities and more to come when you attend Star Wars Celebration this April in Chicago.
For more on guests coming to Star Wars Celebration, as well as news about Artist Alley, check out starwars.com/SWS.
Finally this week, more Galaxy of Adventures shorts have been released on StarWarsKids.com and the Star Wars Kids YouTube channel.
And I got a chance to go behind the scenes at animation studio Titmouse to see how they create this incredible series of shorts. Check it out. We're outside the animation studio Titmouse. They are responsible for the new Star Wars Galaxy of Adventures shorts, which I am absolutely in love with. I cannot wait to get inside and find out how they're made. I'm sitting with Barry Kelly, who is the director of the Galaxy of Adventure shorts. You are retelling a lot of key moments and key stories in the Star Wars fiction. Is that intimidating? Is that nervous? Is it exciting?
Yeah,
how does that feel to take that on?
We're kind of like expanding moments in between the cuts of the movies. I always feel like I'm not recreating the scenes per se, as much as like I'm trying to capture like the weight and the feeling and the sense of action that I felt watching them as a kid. We gotta kind of forget that we know Star Wars when we're attacking this. So we kind of boiled Luke down to forget Mark Hamill, forget the actors. We just have to look at like, what is the essence of Luke?
We talked a lot with Barry at the very beginning about what his vision was, where he wanted to take the show and where I wanted to take it. And we had quite a few people try at it. But the more the animation is complicated, the harder it is to act and convey an emotion. So we talked so much about this, about simplifying and simplifying and simplifying, to the point that we distilled the essence of the characters. Like Vader, you start with a silhouette silhouette because he's so dark. It's not just designing the character, it's designing the environments around him.
This is obviously meant to be somebody's first entry into
Yeah.
Star Wars. Does the fact that you are doing this for an audience that isn't familiar with Star Wars change the way you represent it visually?
We wanted to bring a vision and not just reproduce something that had been done, but it's still really sophisticated looking, and we made it as cool as we try to make anything that we do.
At Titmouse, we do mostly 2D animation. A lot of our flavor shows and the action and the compositing, we just push 2D in a lot of ways that nobody else normally would. We do a lot of the animation in-house, and it's really nice to be able to board, to animate, to do the background designs all in our studio. It's very rare that all of it's done under one roof. One of the challenges of making these is people say, you can go watch the movies, but also maybe now like there's 40 years of stuff that has happened, and we're trying to cram the scope of the legacy of these characters and where they've gone to and where they've came from kind of into a minute, so you get a sense of like, oh, there's more to this than just space battles. There's a whole in-depth, rich world of characters.
Thanks so much to Titmouse for letting us hang around today and giving us a behind-the-scenes look at Galaxy of Adventures. If you haven't seen the shorts yet, you absolutely should. They're amazing, and you can watch them at youtube.com/StarWarsKids or StarWarsKids.com.
Today's super exciting. We finally have Elijah Wood here on the show. Finally, because now you're in Star Wars.
God, I'm so sorry it didn't work out years ago. But now there's at least more relevance because I'm not just a fan.
Right, we have so much to talk about.
I'm working on Resistance, which is really fun.
Yeah, so let's start talking about Resistance.
Okay.
Jace Rucklin, super interesting character.
He is.
Yeah, what's it been like playing him? He's been sort of an interesting foil throughout season 1.
It's funny because I think when people talk about the character or it's referenced to me, it's referenced as if he's a villain, and I don't necessarily see him that way. He just wants to be better than everybody else, and that's what's driving him. And it's ambition to be the best pilot, which is not uncommon in this universe, but he'll kind of push other people out of the way for his own success.
And that's like the more realistic thing, because in Star Wars we have very few mustache twirly, really evil villains, and everyone else is just sort of a real mix of
It's
emotions.
true. I mean, you can even get behind Darth Vader to a certain degree when you understand where he's coming from.
Sure.
You know?
Sure, more or less. Let's talk a little bit about your Star Wars fandom, because you are a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Our childhood was mostly when there wasn't Star Wars.
Totally, but my brother is a big fan. So my brother is 7 years older than me, so he was exposed to all of that in the theater, I think. He would have seen all of them.
So he indoctrinated you early.
So I was exposed to that world really early on, and I can't remember the first film I saw. It would have been A New Hope, I suppose. But it was just ubiquitous. Like, I don't have a specific memory of seeing one of them for the first time because it's kind of in the fabric of my DNA.
Yeah.
Became a collector later of the vintage toys. So when I was a teenager, I was seeking out toy stores that were selling the vintage toys at a time in which they were a lot less expensive than they are now. Boba Fett was a favorite figure. I loved IG-88. It's one of my favorite characters. Millennium Falcon playset. Like I had an original of that. Original AT-AT. That stuff's awesome.
You've had, I'm sure, some really unique experiences, like as a pop culture fan, but also being sort of a focal point for it. I'm sure that's influenced how you sort of consume media or participate in your own fandoms.
Yeah, I can't compare any of my experience to the level of pervasiveness and just sort of, I don't know.
Really?
I still look to Star Wars as the benchmark. I mean, Lord of the Rings was certainly huge, but maybe because I'm a part of it, it doesn't, I don't have a macro perspective of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
You know, to me, Star Wars is so much more significant.
What do you think it is about Star Wars that kind of makes people hold it in such a special place? Because, I mean, that story, the hero's journey, it's not unique to Star Wars at all. It just has a special wrap around it. But for some reason, there's something that people just absorb it into their being.
Well, there's so many aspects. The fact that it feels tangible and real. It's the first time that space was presented to us, I think, in a way where it wasn't super pristine, clean machines set in the future. It felt accessible. The characters, the way they're written, the way they're performed, these are iconic characters that we grew up loving, and John Williams' score. I mean, you could literally go on and on and on about every element.
Now that Star Wars is sort of like back and bigger than ever, what are you most looking forward to in the upcoming year? Because there's a lot.
Oh my God.
Aside from season 2 of Resistance.
That's pretty exciting.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. I I mean, episode 9. I can't wait. I can't wait to see how the saga ends. We've now gotten used to every other year seeing an additional story in the Skywalker saga, and this is the last one, so I'm kind of realizing that it's going to be somewhat bittersweet. But it's an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan.
It absolutely is. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you. It was really
pleasure
fun.
talking to you.
Yeah, you as well.
Watching the Star Wars show.
I can't believe this is the first episode of our 4th season.
I know, and this is gonna be a good one because 2019 is going to be insane for Star Wars.
Seriously, we have Celebration in April, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in the summer, the new VR series, Vader Immortal, new video game, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, plus we get The Mandalorian and, episode 9 later in the year.
Which is why we wanted to know what you're excited for in 2019 and why. Let us know using the hashtag StarWars2019, and we'll feature our favorites here next week.
And as always, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and give a hoot, don't pollute.
Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.
Back at it.
You know it's a big year when, you have to throw episode 9 down at the end of a list.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and that other
Oh,
thing.
yeah. And that one movie we've been waiting 40 years for. That's happening, too. Thank you.
Sync?
The more you clap, the more sync the
5,
sound is.
4, 3.
Planet bet. Of the bet.